Hey guys, how you going? It's the Down BKR Sport. We are back here for another NRL video. The season is fast approaching. It is now February. I'm so keen for the month ahead. We've got plenty more tier makers to come. We've got just a heap of content regarding rugby league and the Super Rugby that's coming up as well. Got some AFL coming soon too. It is a crazy time in the Australian sporting landscape. It's actually probably the most exciting point of the year because every single person is invested in sport. The grand final's great, Origin's great, but this February is always a time where everyone in AFL is thinking maybe this could be our year that we make the 8, or maybe this could be our year that we win. Same with the NRL, same with rugby. It's all going on. So it's super, super exciting here, especially in the NRL, where it could actually genuinely be one of the best seasons of all time. I truly believe it. They've got some great teams here, and I'm looking forward to getting into what we're about to get done today. Today, guys, the video is going to be about the a one player from each team and a breakout player from that team who we think maybe could just take that next step up this year and, become a household name or just, line it up and really help his team to grow overall. And there's some really big players here, but I'm not going to be doing it just by myself here today, guys. We do have another YouTube content creator for the NRL, and it is Sam Revill. How are we doing, man?
Hey, BKR. Howdy, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I've never interacted with you on your own channel before, so thank you very much, mate. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in what we're going to talk about over the next hour or so, mate.
Yeah, exactly right. I've been on your channel a couple of times to do some NFL and the other one. Well, I don't know if I want to speak about the other one. I don't know, because the other one I jumped on was for the Cowboys and Titans preview, and that was when I was really confident in how the Titans were going to bounce back. I thought, we'd struggle, but we're going to get the job done this time. And obviously the Cowboys, they led us into, false sense of security by not looking good preseason and then going bang and absolutely flogging us. I think I said Titans by 30 and we got beat by something like 30 points or so. But obviously, let everyone know what you do in the NRL community, and also, obviously you're a Cowboys fan, but let everyone know what you do for the on YouTube.
Oh, I'm just an average Joe. I love me rugby league predominantly, but I do sometimes touch on AFL, rugby union, other bits and pieces here and there on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in hearing another opinion on the great game of rugby league, hope I can get your audience to at least one of them just to come over and give us a view, mate. So, but I'm just an average Joe, mate.
Can't ever get too much rugby league content. We've got, like I said to you guys many times, the tier makers, we have got hours and hours and hours of content coming up. But the fact of the matter is that that's just one person's perspective. This is my channel. And, obviously I do like to get other content creators on, from all over the place, including obviously Sam here. But, the more channels, the better. The more quality content, the better. So get around the community. We've obviously got the Sportshed TV charity match coming up as well that I'm going to be a part of there. I will be commentating. I hope I can mention it. I will be commentating that there live streamed on YouTube. So definitely excited for that. We've got some content coming up with them as well. So jump over to their channel. But look, the community is fantastic, man. It's growing, and I'm really excited to see how we can continue to go. But I think it is time that we do get into today's video, because it could probably go for about 50 minutes to an hour. Now, guys, obviously smack that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you are new around here. We stream every single game this year, except for Titans games. Don't you little muppets think that I'm going to stream Titans games, because there's too many of you guys just talking schmack. So I'm going to enjoy the game at the stadium, every single game, home or away. But as I said, today is breakout players. So we're going to go through every single club, and myself and Sam are going to give separate answers, and we'll explain why we think that, and we're going to have a bit of a conversation. There is no time limit, and I reckon we get underway. Are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Okay, so the first team that we're going to get to here is the Brisbane Broncos, the Brisbane Schmonkos, and obviously, I'll take the lead here first, because obviously we'll set the tone for, I guess, how the video is going to go. And my one's going to be Reece Walsh. It's going to be Reece Walsh here for the Brisbane Broncos, because I don't think there's a great deal here overall. I think maybe they're one of the easier teams to look out for maybe a breakout player. But I think that Reece Walsh, coming from that Warriors system, he unfortunately had a really poor year last year. Defensively, he was shocking, and attacking-wise, he didn't have it at all. He had that really good, rookie year, but, I guess the second-year syndrome, he just never really kind of continued it. And I think that in his Broncos situation here, they've got a great defense in comparison to what people actually believe. I think that the Broncos are one of the better defensive outfits in the league. I know they choked away. Yes, they are the biggest chokers in the league in regards to a top 4 spot with 5 or so weeks to go. But I just think that Reece Walsh could really line up well here for this Broncos team. What do you reckon, Sam?
I think Reece Walsh has definitely proven that he's got the talent, but I do agree that he had a lesser season in 2022, man. I am very excited by the prospect of him linking up with Ezra Mann specifically. I know Adam Reynolds is there at halfback with all the experience in the world, but I do think off the top of my dome that Walsh and Ezra Mann played a bit of footy with each other about 3 or 4, maybe even a bit more seasons ago. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how those two zippy players in Mann and Walsh link up. So no, I think that's a fair call from Reece Walsh, and he could absolutely be Broncos' best player for 2023.
Yeah, no, exactly right. Well, he's got a chance actually to be it. He needs to have a big season because the fullback spot, obviously, Selwyn Cobbo wants that spot, even though he doesn't like the coach. You've got Herbie Farnworth, who's also trying to get that spot, but Reece Walsh has been signed for that position. And if Ezra Mann, I don't think it happens, but if Ezra Mann didn't work out as well, Reece Walsh could actually probably slot into that 6th role because the 6 has been a bit contentious over the last couple of years. But I do think Ezra will keep it. But there is still, hesitations about him, and there absolutely is hesitations about Reece Walsh. But I think if I'm looking at this Brisbane Broncos lineup, I'm thinking he is the guy. But who do you have as your breakout player for the Brisbane Broncos?
Well, there's a position in the Brisbane Broncos lineup this season that I don't think is set in concrete. I think that Jordan Ricky in the 2nd row is going to get that starting position, but you've got players like Keenan Palasia and Brendan Piakura that are going to be chomping at the bit for a starting slot in the 2nd row. And while Jordan Ricky, I've seen and we've all seen him score some magnificent tries, he hasn't really broken through yet. So my breakout player, because he really does need to be, it is his time now. Jordan Ricky is going to be my breakout player for 2023. He hasn't broken through just yet, man, but I've seen him do some wonderful things. But he also needs to maintain the rage because he does have Brendan Piakura and Keenan Palasia right on his heels, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that when we did the 2nd row of team makers, I don't know if it's come out yet or not, but when we did that, we did talk about the fact that, there has been hype and he does have, you can clearly see that he has ability, but it just hasn't really happened for him yet. And I think the Broncos, everyone talks about their forward pack, but they do have a good forward pack, but it can be an underwhelming forward pack too. It's not it's not as great as everyone has made out in the past. So look, I think, Jordan Ricky does need to really stand up here. And I think that if anyone's going to do it in that forward pack, he's going to have to do it pretty quickly because they do have, some players chomping down the bit there in Palacia. And, they've got a heap of forwards actually waiting in the wings too. There is quite a few forwards waiting in the wings. So, it's a good shout, man. I think that it's good that we had one from the backs and one from the forwards there for people to have a listen to. But let's go now to the Canterbury Bulldogs, and we'll let you go first here, man. What are your thoughts about the Canterbury Bulldogs in regards to a breakout player?
I'm going to stay with the theme of the forward pack for me, man. There are a lot of positions throughout the entire 1 through to 17 which are not going to be concrete. But I hope I'm not pinching your player, mate, but I'm looking I've got myself a forward, so I'm looking at a big recruit from Cronulla Sharks, big Franklin Pele. If you haven't seen Franklin Pele play in the New South Wales Cup, he is an absolute skyscraper. He can bust the line at will. I'm really looking forward to see how he goes in brand new surroundings and with a dogs of war mentality, potentially for big Franklin Pele. I can see him nabbing a permanent jumper 16, jumper 17 spot for 2023.
Yeah, he's a prop, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, prop. The only issue that I have in regards to the starting squad is that Luke Thompson and obviously Maxi King. I really wish I could say Maxi King because, I love the bloke, but he had his breakout year last year, realistically. But it's going to be very hard for Pele to get that starting spot. But I actually don't even necessarily think that he is a starter. I think that he could just have a really good year off that bench and come on and be that wrecking ball. He is a big bopper bloke. And I did have a look at him as well. I think there's a guy that in the backs I'm going to mention in a second. But no, I really think that you could be right there with the Cronulla Sharks, Franklin Pele, to move into that Dogs team. And we all know the Dogs of War. They haven't been the Dogs of War for a very long time now, in my opinion. I think that their defense definitely has taken a big step back in the last 10 years. Well, since they were in that grand final in 2014 and then obviously missing in 2015. I don't know. I think the penalty's a good shout. Yeah, in the forwards. It's going to come down to how much time he's going to get on the field because obviously Max King, fantastic, and Lukey Thompson. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. For me, I'm actually going to the fullback position. Now, obviously, Jay Gabriello is the guy that's been in their fullback, but he hasn't really lit it up for me. I think that, as I say all the time, Dogs fans are quite loud, so they're going to back in whatever play they realistically have. I see people backing in Kyle Flanagan, and I just don't think Kyle Flanagan's that great. But I'm actually going to look at the fullback here because I just think that Averillo, like I said, hasn't lit it up. So I'm going to go to Hayes Perham here, who actually came from the Eels. And for me, I've actually seen just something that maybe if Averillo doesn't get it going again this year, maybe Hayes Perham might actually be able to sneak in there, get in that fullback spot. I do like his foot movement. I don't think he had the opportunity. Well, he definitely didn't have the opportunity to become a fullback at the Eels. And I just think that maybe the Dogs want a bit more pace about him. Maybe they want a little bit more elusiveness. And I think Averillo is kind of a straight to the point. He's nothing too out. I don't know. JP Averillo just doesn't, get it going for me. Do you agree with me?
Averillo, man, he works his ass off, but he does have a lack of a passing game in him. So I do agree with you. I'm happy for him to get the first 5 rounds of the season and then maybe Serraldo evaluates. But Hayes Perham was actually on my short list as well, bro. And maybe we might get into it a little bit later, but the backline for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs can be shuffled up quite a fair bit because of the departure of Mr. Short to the Gold Coast Titans. So Hayes Perham definitely could play at fullback, but I've never seen him play fullback. And let alone that, he's coming back from an ACL. So he'd be pretty much restarting, man, from ground zero. But I think that's an absolute fair shout for Hayes Perham, bro.
Yeah, it just comes down to the fact that if Averillo plays well, fantastic. But I just don't think he has it in him in comparison to what the potential may be for a Hayes Perham, who I've watched some highlights of him in playing that fullback in the younger grades, and he just knows when to make that foot movement. He knows to slow down and then get pace going too. And that's a sign of a good fullback, not just using the same pace throughout, which I feel like with Averillo was the case. But I think with Perham, I just saw that kind of change of pace, and I love that. I love that about him. So I'm going to go with that snaky, but he is obviously coming back from that ACL, so it's going to be difficult for him to get right back into it. But we move now to the Canberra Raiders, and this might be a bit of a surprise for people in regards to my thought process. But the Raiders are a difficult team to look at here in regards to a breakout player. Now, I'm going to say what I'm going to say before I actually mention him here just quickly, because I want to give the reasoning why. I think this player had a really good year last year. I think that if you're actually a rugby league fan who watches the game and understands this is a forward and understands the forwards and back rower, you know that Hudson Young was really good in 2022. But I don't think that when I think of a breakout player, I think that the common consensus fans see them, plus also the fans that do watch the game, but maybe not as much as the tragics like us who watch every single game. And I think Hudson Young is lined up beautifully to have an incredible season alongside the likes of Tarpanay, alongside the likes of Papali'i. They've got a really good fullback there, Elliot Whitehead alongside him as well. I just feel like the pace that he's got a little bit of a kicking game on him too, actually, with a little cheeky. He scored a try last year off his own kick. And I just think he's passing and everything about him for me, man, just really gets it going. And they've got a great forward pack, man. So I'm going Hudson Young.
Oh, wow, man. For me personally, Hudson Young did break out. Such was his 2022 season. And there is every possibility he does get selected in State of Origin this year. So maybe when he does, and if he does get selected to be a part of that camp, maybe that's when you can call him a breakout star. But for me personally, I thought he was absolutely wonderful and second best.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like last year, I believe he had an incredible year, but I don't think there's enough talking about him as we're going to hear after this year. I think after we hear this year, he should get that rep jersey. I think that it just needs, there's going to be a massive step up in regards to the acknowledgement of Hudson Young this year. And I think that that's going to happen because of the consistency from last year to this year, and people will start to recognize a bit more.
Yeah. And look, maybe because I'm a bit of a bigger bugger, I'm going to talk about another forward player in one of my breakout superstars
Go for it,
in
man.
2023, and it is a fella that has not made his first grade debut yet. And BKR just spoke about watching every single game. We also would have watched the under-19s State of Origin game. And for New South Wales, the big fella Trey Mooney was absolutely monstrous. I fear, and I'm so looking forward to him breaking out in 2023. As a matter of fact, he may have actually had the one game last year. But in any event, he is still a rookie, Trey Mooney, and I'm really looking forward to him securing down that lock position, because for me, since Adam Elliott has gone off to Newcastle Knights, they don't, for me, have another option in the lock position than Trey Mooney. Yes, Corey Horsburgh could go into that position. Maybe you could shift back Tarpanay, but you wouldn't do that after the year he just had. So for me, Trey Mooney could very well be on track for an absolutely amazing 2023.
Yeah, no, I love the look of Trey Mooney. I did have him in my shortlist as well behind Hudson Young. I just think that I need to really reinforce that Hudson Young is the guy going forward. But Trey Mooney definitely is a guy that I could see absolutely blowing onto the scene there. Like I said, the Raiders have always been a really I've just seen a real strong forward unit there. And I think it's because they usually love the Englishmen. They usually love that Super League kind of style pack, which has worked in the past and still does work, because that's the positions that do translate there. But no, I love Trey Mooney, man. I don't know a fantastic amount about him outside of the fact that we did see him in that under-19s. But no, I look forward to what he can potentially provide. And if Ricky Stewart's one of the guys there, he's one of the better coaches for understanding when a player needs to come in. Like, he knows the perfect time. And that's why Tom Starling, as great as he is as number 9, he also gets that bench spot of Zach Wolford, and then brings Starling on as that pace man, and just spruiks up the games a little bit. And then Trey Mooney, I think he's going to get an opportunity to really let loose at the perfect time for his career. So I'm backing him in, just like you. Ricky Stewart is the perfect man for the job in regards to that, in my personal opinion. All right, let's move on now to the next team, which is going to be the Cronulla Sharkies. And I'll let you go here first. What's your thoughts about the Sharkies?
The Sharkies, mate, for me, they're pretty settled, man. They were a tricky team to try and figure out, bro. Before coming on, I did my 1 to 17s for every single club, and just Cronulla are so settled, bro. And I think they're in for another fantastic season. But at jersey 17, that last spot on the bench is wide open for a handful of players. But there is one player in particular that he didn't break out, but he started raising my eyebrows a fair bit last year. And I'm talking about Teague Wilton. Teague Wilton, for me, will be coming off the bench. I think he is just a go-getter. He rips and tears. The second row starters for the Sharkies are going to be Britton Nakora and Wade Graham. Coming off the bench, Teague Wilton could, at a pinch, play at lock, could play in the props, but I think he can play in the second row or float about in that area. I think Teague Wilton showed tremendous amounts of promise in 2022, and there's not a lot of positions left. And I think Teague Wilton, if he can just evolve and improve, I think Teague Wilton's spot is secured. And I think Teague Wilton can truly have quite a chance to make the Origin camp. Not saying 1 to 17 New South Wales, but I am saying that he could very well find himself in the Blues camp if he does have what I think could be a very, very successful 2023 campaign.
Yeah, look, it's interesting to see. I did see in the game against the Rabbitohs, there was a couple of things I wasn't a big fan of with Teague in that game specifically. He did. There was one try in halftime. This is in the semi-final. That him and another player, there was a little bit of laziness there, and I really hope that he doesn't have that in his game. There's just that one little bit of laziness that let a try in, and it really frustrated the absolute shit out of me, really, because I do think that he is a decent little player coming through. Just gotta kind of get that out of his game, and I think with the back row as well. Look, obviously, Wade Graham is on the last legs, really, of his career too. So that number 12 spot is going to be opening up very, very soon. I don't even know how long Wade Graham does last in that 12 spot this year as well. So, the forwards, and I don't think that any of the forward spot, like there's the 13, this is for just in general, the 8, the 13 and the 11 are the only three spots I feel locked up in Nakora, Finucane, and Rudolph. But I do think Hamlin Llewellyn and Wade Graham, their spots in the front row and the back row are kind of a little bit up for grabs there. So, no, I think that's a great one. I think that's a good shout. Just need to see that one frustrating moment. It's hard to get out of my mind. I do remember seeing it with Teague Wilton. But I'm going to make a big call here. I'm going to make a really big call. Now, I'm actually going to go look into the fullback spot. I'm going to look in the fullback spot where Will Kennedy is. I think with Will Kennedy, I like him. I do. I like him. I think he is the epitome of a do-the-job player. I think he's going to do the job, but I don't think he's going to provide that spark necessarily. Maybe occasionally, but overall, I don't look at him for that spark player. And I think that he's in a team that does love that real bit of spark from out the back. Like look at them. Ben Barber, they had Presto Campbell at some stages. They've had some really, pacey fullbacks over time. And I think provided he does not go to Newcastle, we could see the emergence of Lockie Miller getting to that fullback spot. What do you reckon about that?
Oh, man, that's a massive call because Lockie Miller is much older than another fullback that I had shortlisted here. No pressure, Will Kennedy, by the way, but the young Dykes fella, I think his name's Cade Dykes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Cade Dykes. Yeah, man, I thought maybe if there was going to be another player, provided that Lockie Miller doesn't go to Newcastle, I thought maybe the young Dykes fellow could be on the heels of William Kennedy. But William Kennedy, man, he for me, unfortunately, had that injury, and touch wood, he doesn't have another injury as well in 2023, but he definitely came back very lackluster when the Cronulla Sharks needed him to be that same character that was at the end of the 2021 season and at the start of the 2022 season. So there's a lot of pressure on Will Kennedy, and I agree with you, man. If Will Kennedy doesn't evolve himself and improve, I think one of those young two fellas or one of those two fullbacks waiting in the wings could nab it from him.
Yeah, look, Lachlan Miller is 28 years old, but, the reason why is because he's obviously been to that Australian 7 setup. And, when we did see him last year in those little spurts, man, like he killed the Titans when he was there, when he played us up at Seabus in rainy weather. And he's got that pace about him. And that's the main thing they'll look at there. I don't know a great deal about Dykes, but I know that there is obviously word of that he is really quality, as you've mentioned there. So, look, I think that if Will Kennedy can keep doing what he's doing, he's going to be the guy there. But I think that if Lockie Miller does stay and then Kennedy doesn't perform, I think Miller does get shoved in there. And I think that the pace of Lockie Miller will actually suit the Sharks team more than Kennedy. But big call. I know Sharks fans love Kennedy. I just need to see that extra bit of, spruce, get a bit India, get it a bit out there. But the next team we're going to get underway here is the 2023 Premiers, the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, this is obvious. I'm just saying something simple. Don't be silly out there. Don't be silly. Titans 2023 Premiers. But we will go. I'll go first here because obviously it's my team, so I'll go first. And actually, you know what? You're going to go first. And the reason being is because I can change it. If it's the same person as you, I can change it on the spot, because I know this team. I know most of these boys personally. So who are you going to go with for the Gold Coast Titans?
Oh, man, off the frying pan and into the fire, having an opinion on the Titans on BKR Sports Channel.
Come on, son. Come on. Give me it, son. Give me the opinion. I'm waiting, son. I'm waiting.
Here we friggin' go. Again, the 1-17 for the Titans, I think, besides the bench, picks itself a fair bit. I like what I see from the Titans. A lot of people still have them finishing in the bottom 4. I don't see that happening, man. But I do look at the spine. I see Foran and Brimson, Sam Verrills as well. And I would have looked at Sam Verrills this time last year and would have said breakout player. But there is one position that might be controversial to you and everybody else. The young fella played 7 games in 2021. He played 14 games in 2022 sporadically. And while I see the talent in him, I think Jaden Campbell, we have not seen the best of him yet. And in 2023, for the Gold Coast Titans to make the finals, Jaden Campbell needs to absolutely explode, and I think he will. I think third time's the charm. It's going to be his third season. I think for me, even though some would say and argue Jaden Campbell has broken out, for me, he still has not played more than 30 first-grade games and still has not showed that consistency. Seen plenty of great skill on show, don't get me wrong, but Jaden Campbell is going to well and truly break out and become the Gold Coast Titans' future in 2023.
I love that, mate. I love that because JC is an unreal bloke at this club. Obviously, he's got history at the club through his dad, but he's making a name for himself too. The difficult thing with JC is that obviously we do have this conundrum right now with the Brimdog millionaire, with Kieran Foran coming in, Toby Sexton, Tanner Boyd, and JC. So those four or five guys are actually intertwined, weirdly enough. And the reason being is because there is the option this year that AJ Brimson stays in the 6, Kieran Foran goes to 7. I don't believe this happens at all. But Kieran Foran 7, AJ Brimson 6, then JC in the 1, and Tanner Boyd in the 14. I personally believe, because Kieran Foran for me is a 6, just a stone cold 6. And I love him in that 6 role. And I believe that's where Justin's going to be picking him. So Kieran Foran to the 6, the 7, I believe it'll be Toby. I think that Tanner deserves first crack based on the ending of his season last year. And obviously kicking that field goal to win against the Warriors was unbelievable for him too. I think Tanner probably deserves it. But I do believe that Toby will get that 7 spot for the time being. And then Kieran Foran will be 6. And then AJ Brimson goes to the 1 and JC 14. And JC coming off the bench when all the forwards are tied, just coming on for a bit of a spruce up. He has a good kick on him as well, a really big kick on him that is underrated from that fullback spot. And it's super high. It just mixes it up from what Toby obviously can provide with. He's a really good kicker of the ball too. But JC, man, when he gets his boot underneath it, it goes high, man. It goes high. Yep. So, yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to what JC can provide. He still may get that fullback spot. He still might get it. You could even potentially see AJ go 14 and JC 1, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think JC goes to 14, but that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. But I love it because JC is a phenomenal bloke who really does care about this team. But that's not where I'm going to go. I'm not going to go into those positions. I'm actually going to move to the wing here because the back line for me is actually where all the movement's happening because the forwards are fantastic. They just had a down year last year. They did. They just had a down year because the spine was all over the shop and the club had a few issues that we had to sort out with. But I'm going to the wing, and it's every single Titans fan on the planet will know this guy, but most other people might not know a great deal about him. It's Alofiana Canberra, who we call Loffy. Loffy played for the Burleigh Bears. Is one of the fastest. He's going to give Josh Adokar a run for his money in regards to speed. Obviously, Jojo Feeder also very fast. But it's between Loffy and Jojo. And I think maybe, based on what I've seen, I might give the pace just to Loffy. And Jojo did obviously chase down Adokar in that Bulldogs game. He still scored the try, but he had to come across from the other side of the field and still got to him. Both very, very fast players. But yeah, I think that wing spot's opened up there. Scored the most tries in the Queensland Cup last year for the Bears. And has just been kind of trying to sort out a few issues internally before he does get this crack. And with Brian Kelly out for suspension for the time being, Sammy will probably go into that center spot. And then you've got Loffy that goes on the wing, gets the crack. And I don't know if he gets his spot, if he gets that spot immediately, I think maybe, just maybe, he might be able to hold it out. And Brian Kelly might find it difficult, or Sammy might find it difficult to keep his spot there because I know Jojo will stay. I know my boy Jojo will stay. So the winger pairing for me will probably be Jojo and Lofiana Canberra.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing how Jojo evolves. But look, I admittedly have not heard about this gentleman before, so got something to really look forward to and study up in 2023 on this young man.
Man, you definitely want to see what Loffy has to provide, man. He is a fast man, and you're just going to see the beautiful hair. It's some beautiful hair that he's got. It'll just be flying in the wind as he's running down the sideline.
I know absolutely nothing about hair, BKR.
Well, listen, you're about to see it. You're about to see it full force with the Lofiana Gun Pereira. But let's move on now to the Manly Sea Eagles here. No, we get on to the Sea Eagles now. We are getting on to the Sea Eagles now. And I'll go first here because I'll let you go first for the last one. We're going to go to my boy Joshy Schuster. We are. We're going to go to my boy Joshy Schuster here. Because, he's a 5'8", but he was playing the back row. I think that he needs to be the breakout player. Will he be the breakout player? I don't necessarily know, but I know that he needs to be that guy for Manly to be successful this year. Tom Boyovich in and out, shake it all about with injuries. Their 9 is a bit how you going. Cherry Evans not getting any younger and also coming towards the end of his contract, mind you. which is crazy for people who are actually, old enough to realize this is the end of a 10-year contract with Cherry Evans because he's a muppet with the Titans. But Schuster comes into that 6th role, and look, I'm interested to see how it goes. He obviously doesn't have the back row to a 5'8" is a very weird frame comparison, but he has played both of them. I don't know. I feel like he has the talent. It's just a scary prospect here because I think most of this Manly team is actually super underwhelming. But I really like what the potential shows for Schuster.
Look, everything that I've seen of him on social media throughout the off-season does trend in an upward position for the bloke. But fair income, talk about putting a lot of pressure on yourself. He was a little bit responsible for getting rid of Kieran Foran as well and making his case to be a 5'8" and asking for that money, man. So Josh Schuster, bro, I think he has got the most fascinating story coming into 2023 for any other player, bro. He's going to be, so many magnifying glasses are going to be on him, bro. For the rest of the team, man, and he was on my short list. For the rest of the team, bro, I think there's a potential there that Brad Parker in the centres for Manly Sea Eagles may play a few games, but maybe form may drop out. I think his position is at risk. I think the starting forward pack, Alia, Paseka, Tuolangi, Olokawatu, and Jake Trbojevic, I think that picks itself as well, except for Kelma Tuolangi. I think Kelma Tuolangi will get that starting second row position, but snapping at his heels, man, Ben Trbojevic, you've got Benjamin Condon that's come down from North Queensland in the off-season, Ethan Bullymore as well, and then you've got the likes of Zach Fulton and this young fella named Viliami Fafita that a lot of people have got raps on. So my breakout player is going to come from the forward pack again, but I'm going to trust in the Ben Trbojevic. I'm going to trust in the Trbojevic strain. While Trbojevic finally did start to show glimpses of some of that skill that we think he's got, I think that he can prove to be a regular 1-17 player. I think he showed enough good form to warrant himself the first 5 rounds in the team. And I think Ben Trbojevic, if he can maintain the rage and he himself evolve, I think he can be I think he can break out. Maybe not maybe the player of the year because Josh Schuster is, for all intents and purposes, is that player to watch for me in 2023. Yeah. Absolutely. But just for a little bit of versatility, a bit of variety as well, Ben Trbojevic could fair income cement himself as the second roller for the Manly Sea Eagles.
Absolutely. No, I love it. And I love it because if you actually look, if you go on to our the tier makers for the forwards, it's actually a really disappointing forward pack overall. Like it just is compared to, I guess, what we've seen in the past. It's not, especially in the front rowers, but obviously you're talking about the back row here. But yeah, look, I think that a lot of positions are up for grabs. And I also do think Olakau'atu needs to have a better year than last year. I didn't really see a great deal from him last year compared to the previous year. But I do think that Olakau'atu could also be another player. He already had his breakout season, but it just needs to be a bit more consistent with it for me. But yeah, look, I think that Ben Trbojevic is definitely, he can also play centre too. If Brad Parker didn't, Benny Trbojevic gets a bit of, he has the benefit of potentially being a breakout player for centre for Brad Parker or in that back row. So yeah, look, it should be interesting. Looking forward to seeing what Manly can do this year, but I don't think it's going to be a fantastic year down there on the northern beaches, in my opinion. But we do go to I think we're on the Storm now. We are Melbourne Storm, and this is actually a really exciting one for me. I'm actually going to go first here because this is a really, really exciting one for me. Sure. And it is William Warbrick. There's a William Warbrick who was a winger. Used to play for the All Black Sevens team. He was fantastic, big bopper man. Yeah. And I think that with the wing spot of Dean Jeremiah, I don't think that's locked up by any means at all. And I think that if anyone's going to get a crack there and someone really could break out into the scene, it's going to be this big bopper winger that partners Xavier Coates on the other side. It will fix their backline quite a bit because the backline for me is super average overall. Like it just really is. Dean Jeremiah, I know Olam's great, but he's also getting a little bit on now. Remus Smith is okay, and Xavier Coates needs to have a big season as well. Nick Amin, the fullback, but obviously normally it'll be a little puppy, little mullet man, little puppy, little mullet man, little puppy. So for me, I've got William Warbrick, chuck him on the wing there, and if anyone's going to get something out of him, it's going to be Craig Bellamy at Storm.
Yeah, 1,000%, bro. Not that I've seen too much of him, man, because you're definitely more of a rugby expert compared to myself. But yes, I did know that signing did take place, bro. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. And
He
for
was a
me, man,
killer
I'm
for
going
that
to
All
talk.
Black Sevens team, man. He was a killer for that All Black Sevens team.
I'm going to go again, another forward pack, man. And I'm looking at the Melbourne Storm's forward pack, and you've got Tui Kamika, Tarek Sims, Christian Welch returns from a nasty injury, Nelson Asafa Solomona. And then I look at the bench, and take your pick, man. You could be blindfolded and hit one, and they'll come on and do the job. But I've got two players in mind, but I'm going to go with Alicia Katoa. That was a recruit from the New Zealand Warriors. I think he will start the season with the jersey number 12 on his back. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did not have a very good season in 2022, admittedly, but I do see the talent in him. I do see the potential in him. And as you just said, if anybody can take somebody to another level, it is going to be Craig Bellamy. And for Alice Katoa, I think that he needs to have himself a wondrous 2023. So my breakout player for the Melbourne Storm in 2023 is Katoa.
Yeah, I can see it, man. I can see because obviously Trent Loiero is that's probably the only other guy really that I'd be looking at there. But I think that Elisa Katoa should definitely get that spot to start off with there because I think that, again, the storm of the storm, Craig Bellamy is Craig Bellamy. We know what this team can do to players. And I think that coming from that, I think it's the Warriors system, it wasn't great for him. But here, he's going to be partnering up with Tarek Sims. I think their forward pack has a really good amount of potential going into this year compared to what people actually believe. Maybe just that 13 spot irks you a little bit, but overall, look at this forward pack. Christian Welch, Harry Grant, Nelson Solomona, Tarek Sims. You get Elias Katoa there off the bench, Tui Kamika. Unbelievable. It's just that lock position that kind of gets me a little bit, what's going on there. But Josh King's still fine, just nothing spectacular. But yeah, no, I like it. I think that he has got a really good potential to break onto the scene there at the Melbourne Storm. Yeah, I do. But let's move on now to the Newcastle Knights. And I'll let you go first here, man. A difficult team because they're in a very difficult predicament as a club. What's your thoughts on the Knights?
Well, as of about a couple of days ago, I had one idea in my head, and then I found out that Kalen Pong is going to be playing the 5'8" position, which blows my mind, man. Yeah. Blows my mind. So no pressure, but they also got rid of Tex Hoy in the off-season as well. He's off to Hull FC. So there's a young fella named Bailey Hodgson who has come over from England. And look, bro, no pressure. I'm not too sure how his playing style is, mate. But that is more of a condemnation on the rest of the Newcastle Knights, in my opinion, in 2023, unfortunately. I wouldn't have Dane Gagai playing at fullback. I would have Ponga still playing in the fullback role as well, man. So look, for me, it's not a good roster still for me personally. But if you're going to take your best player out of his best position, the bloke in the role that's taking over has got to break out in 2023. And the young man, Bailey Hodgson, he may not only be he's only just 6 foot or just a bit under. It doesn't matter. You've got the likes of Lachlan Coote, AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell still rolling around. You're going to have to be a tall, lanky fullback to be a great, even good fullback. So this young
look at Billy Slater,
Hodgson, bro. Billy Slater as well, man. So this young fella, Bailey Hodgson, no pressure, bro, but fair income, man. It's your time. You're going to be given the opportunity, I feel, to start round one, and you got to take it with both hands, young man.
Yeah, no pressure, but a lot of pressure, but no pressure. But there's a lot of pressure on you. And the thing is that I was actually going to say him as well. So I'm going to try and come up with someone on the spot here. But yeah, Bailey Hodgson is definitely one that is going to need to be a breakout player, just like Josh Schuster is going to need to be that breakout player for Manly. Bailey has got that here for the Knights. And there is word that Dane Gagai might go into the fullback spot, but I just don't agree with that. However, there is one that you could potentially look at to the center here. Like I said, I would have gone Bailey, but there is one you could look at for the centers, which is Christian Mapalongi, that might get a shot there if the centers don't work out. Because for me, Bradman Best hasn't actually done exactly what he needs to do for the last year or two either. Like, he had that really good starting, but outside of that, he's actually did pretty average, realistically. So although I believe that he has that really good ability, it hasn't really lined up for him yet. And Dane Gagai is on the last legs. Like, he is on his last legs. I think maybe Christian Mapapalangi, who can play 6, also can play in the centers. You might slot him into the centers. If Callum Ponga doesn't work, then obviously Ponga goes to the fullback, and then Mapalangi could go on that 6 role. I don't know. I think that's a potential there. And also, we do have to shout out a little bit of Greg Marzhew here as well, because Greg Marzhew hasn't actually... I wouldn't say he's actually had an absolute breakout. Everyone knows how good attacking he is, but I need to see that defensive side of him, which is effectively the reason why he doesn't get a starting gig at the Titans now. And that's why he's gone to the Knights, because we do have some players coming through that might be a bit more defensive-minded. And although Greg, on his day, I think that Greg is actually the best attacking winger on his day. 100%. Best attacking winger in the game. But I also think that he could be nearly the worst defensive winger in the game. So if Greg can really improve that side of things, my God, it could be a breakout year for him too. What do you think about those 2 selections?
Yeah, Greg Marzhew, I really like the cut of his jib, man, for sure. But yes, defensively, he does need to go up a level. And Mapapalangi definitely has all the raps on him in the world, mate. But they're both... Marzhew, I've never seen play at fullback, so I'd go with more of a specialist fullback.
Marzhew winger
as well. And yes, so I wouldn't chop and change, but Marzhew as well. He just needs to be a better defensive player, and we'll see how he goes. He could become a cult figure. Honestly, he could become a cult figure down in Newcastle.
Absolutely.
And there's one other player here that I don't know. I'd love to get your opinion on, if you don't mind, BKR, and that's Jack Hetherington from the Canterbury Bulldogs. He's got the Saifidi brothers with him, and he's got Frizzell with him. But look, he has unfortunately had those brain explosions. Ask Valentine Holmes. But Jack Hetherington, man, look, I'm not saying that I can see the potential in him, but he's got so much room for improvement that if he can just bottle it, maybe he could be that sort of, I don't know, that what David Clemmer was, that enforcer.
I guess like a Nelson or Solomona kind of figure, yeah.
Yeah, like an enforcer for Newcastle. That side Saifidi and Adam Elliott, they don't really have an enforcer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that he's a massive Muppet. He's a part of the Muppet Brigade for sure. But yeah, if he takes away that Muppetry out of his game, then he could be a good player. I think most Dogs fans knew that when he was there. I think most fans of the game actually know that as well. But I just don't back in that he gets rid of it. I think that he's just a Muppet, and I think that he is just all over the shop. As per usual in regards to kind of where his head should be. So yeah, no, for me, I understand where you're coming from. I think that he can be a good player, and can be that guy who can be that enforcer like a Nelson Solomona or a David Clemmer. But, geez, Muppet. Muppet. All right, let's move on now to the... What's gone?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were saying something. Sorry.
No.
Oh, good. All right, let's move on now to the New Zealand Warriors, and it is going to be... Did you go first last time, or did I? I think I went first last... No. You went first last time, so I'll go first now. And I'm actually going to say Luke Metcalf here, who more than likely will get this 6th spot. Warriors are there's a lot of players coming in, a lot of players who went out. A lot of the key areas are still there. But overall, I think that there's a chance you could say Tamari, but I think Tamari overall has been around for long enough that maybe we should move on and give Luke Metcalf a bit of a crack here, who will get that starting 6th spot for me. I do think that Tamari Martin could come into 6, and Luke could also go to the fullback role. Luke is a guy that can play in multiple positions, and I think that for the Warriors, he's got Shaun Johnson there. But Shaun Johnson isn't the Shaun Johnson we all know. So Luke's going to actually have to stand up dramatically, and I mean gigantically, in that half spot for the Warriors to have a relatively successful season this year, because Shaun Johnson is not the same guy we know from the past. He has lost that step. Wade Egan is fine. He's a fine hooker, but nothing too exceptional. And yet Tamari Martin will light up from the back, but I actually think that Luke Metcalf is going to have to really be the main guy in this spine for the Warriors to do anything this year. Do you agree?
Oh, wow, that's a massive call. Look, I can't deny that he's an X-Factor player. He was arguably, if not the best, New South Wales Cup player for the Cronulla Sharks or Newtown in 2022. And I've seen plenty of footy from him. I cannot wait to see him get his start in New Zealand Warriors colours, man. But I could talk about the New Zealand Warriors for hours and hours, bro. Such as the
100%.
fascinating depth that they've got. So again, I'm going to choose. I'm going to go a little bit different. I look at the forward pack, and you've got Bunty Afoa and you've got Aiden Fanua-Blake. Who are those front rowers that are going to come off the bench and help those two buggers?
Well, their starting forward pack would probably be Tohu Harris and Adam Fanua-Blake.
Oh, okay. So you don't reckon Bunty Afoa will get that starting 10 role?
Nah. Tohu Harris is a machine, a workhorse, and Adam Fanua-Blake is the guy there. So I think that Bunty Afoa definitely comes off the bench.
Okay. Well, I've got Tohu Harris in my second row. So just going off of that then.
Okay.
Going off of that, my interchange bench, look, you've got Jazz Tavanga. He's not a front rower. He's not a front rower at all, man. So with Ben Murdoch-Masila also transitioning to the Dragons about a month or so ago, they are lacking depth in the forward pack big time. Now, I look at the young players coming through. So I look at players like Valingi and Otu Kanika Kepu. They are twins that are coming through the system that have played with the Dolphins. And the Dolphins went deep into the finals last year. I think they even made the grand final last year in the Queensland Cup. And they have just been signed up for fresh deals to play in 2023 and 2024 after being on development contracts for the past 2 seasons. So the Warriors see something in these twins. And with Ben Murdoch-Masila now gone, for me personally, that opens up 2 front row positions on the bench. And I think that you could have something really good on your hands with a set of prop twins a la the Burgess twins. So I'm going to go for Valingi and Otu Kineka Kepu for the New Zealand Warriors to come on and help out Aiden Fanua-Blake, Bunty Afoa, and even Tohu Harris, man, because I think their forward pack, they're just lacking a little bit of depth in that department, bro.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know a great deal about these guys, so obviously I'm glad that you've said that. That's why these videos are so great. But the reason why I said that before in regards to Harris is that Marata Niukore comes in and Mitchell Barnett come in. And I think both those guys, more than likely, especially considering the lack of depth in that front row position right now, as you're talking about, I think that's why maybe Tohu Harris might come into that front row, Niukore and Barnett back row, Curran obviously in the 13. So that's probably where I'm thinking. But with that being said, those guys that you've obviously just mentioned, it'd be interesting to see if they can break into it because there definitely is a spot. I don't think that Bailey Siren is necessarily the guy that people were thinking. I think his spot's up for grabs there too. I don't necessarily think that Bunty Afoa has a locked up spot there on that bench either, to be completely honest with you. It's a tough one to predict with the Warriors. And as you said, you can talk about them for ages. They've got a really interesting setup that's not necessarily great, but it's interesting. Alrighty. So next up here, we are going to move on to the North Queensland Cowboys, which is your boy, Sam. So do you want me to go first or do you want you go first?
Take 2. North Queensland Cowboys. I'm going to take the reins this time around, BKR, mate.
Go on, man. Get the reins going.
You talk about the Gold Coast Titans premiers this year. North Queensland Cowboys versus Gold Coast Titans grand final. There you go, but the Cowboys.
I'm so sorry that you have to lose the grand final like that, brother. I'm so sorry that you have to lose the grand final like that. But, I love to see it.
Oh, man. Look, there is one player that has a fair income opportunity to lock himself up a 1 through till 17 position for 2023. And you may know him quite well, BKR, as well, because he represented Fiji in the Rugby League World Cup. And with Luciano Leilua missing, unfortunately, until middle of May due to court hearings and some off-field dramas with him, and with Hyland Lukey also missing out potentially first 6 weeks, at the very least the first month of the 2023 season, I can think of no other player better to give a crack to make his first grade debut than Taniela Sage-Rugu, who has represented Fiji in the Rugby League World Cup, who has played in the Olympics in the Rugby Nines as well. And what we've seen from him, what I've seen from him in Queensland Cup, in the Rugby League World Cup, give him a first grade debut in round 1 and watch him tear it up. And if he does what I think I know he can and what maybe BKR may know he can, I think he can lock himself up a position 1 to 17 every single week, 2023. So my breakout player for the Cowboys this year is Taniela Sadrugu.
Yeah, Sadrugu has a chance. He's a good opportunity there. I thought he had a pretty decent World Cup there for Fiji. I think Fiji got robbed by New Zealand by the muppetry of the referee in that game. But overall, yeah, no, it's a great shout. I don't know necessarily. It's really difficult to see a lot of the Fijian boys and the transition into that NRL landscape. But I think that he's definitely a really big shout there, especially with the the off-field stuff that is currently going down with Luciano, unfortunately, because you could actually, if it wasn't for all that type of stuff, you could have actually made an argument for Luciano with a full season here at the Cowboys that he could have been that guy. Like, he could have been that breakout player, the fact that he's come from that Tigers, and although he was good, he never really had that kind of just, I'm up there with the best of the best season, is what I would say.
I understand. Yeah, no, that's a fair shout, man. Yes.
I would have probably had a thought about him, but I'm going to make a big call here. I think you're going to like this call, but I think I'm going to have to explain why I have this man as a breakout, because you probably would have thought it was last year, which it probably was. I would agree, but I'm going to go with Reece Robson. And do you know why I'm going to go with Reece Robson in the 9?
Go.
Because I think he's going to knock on the door of that New South Wales spot for the number 9. Because I don't necessarily believe that Damien Cook is doing exactly what we've expected of him for the last couple of years. I think that Damien Cook, he needs to have a big year for the Rabbitohs, and he needs to have a big year for New South Wales again, because I don't think he's getting the job done there in that number 9 spot. And I think that Api Koroisau, I don't think he's going to really get the job done there either. I think that we've got a young, I think 24, 23-year-old Reece Robson here he's just blown onto the scene. I think he had a fantastic year last year. He already had murmurs about potentially being in the overall squad. I think Reece Robson potentially could be a sneaky there for that New South Wales spot. And if he plays as well as he did last year and continues it into this year, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to hold out. What do you think? At least in the overall squad and knocking on the door to get into the starting team.
Okay, I absolutely love it, mate. I think he was just about our best player last season. I think he's been our most consistent player for 2 or 3 years now. Me personally, through rose-coloured glasses, he's already broken out. I absolutely love Reece Robson, bro. Rips and tears, and his what is it? His toughness and his consistency. I don't think he's missed a game for 2 straight years now, or something to that effect, man. He's unbelievable. And look, I don't want to turn it into a player bash here, but Damien Cook, I agree with you. Damien Cook has not been the player that he was back in 2000.
And just quickly, like I know you're talking here, but just quickly, I have always been the biggest fan of Damien Cook. Always been the biggest fan. I even said for a long time that he was the number 1 hooker in the game, and I think he genuinely was, over Harry Grant, over a couple of these boys. Yes. But it just hasn't done it the last couple of years for me, man. Just hasn't.
No. He definitely backtracked, in my opinion, Damien Cook in 2022. Api Koroisau, look, he's going to be either here or there just quietly. I don't know how he's going to go as far as breaking into the Origin camp, man. And no, Reece Robson, bro, he's going to go extremely, extremely close to getting that hooker jersey. And depends if Brad Fittler, I don't want to turn this into a State of Origin talk, but it depends if Reece Robson or Brad Fittler decides to go with jersey 14 to be another hooker. And if that's the case, I think it's Reece Robson's for sure.
It's super hard, man, because obviously they've got Nico Hines there. They've got little Mulliman, little Bubby if he comes back from injury. There's so many things that go into that 14 spot. It's difficult to read. But I just think that, obviously Reece Robson had, I guess, a domestic breakout, but I think maybe you could be looking at that State of Origin breakout and putting himself up there with the best hookers in the game. Because I don't think that people look at him right this second as one of the best hookers in the game just yet. I think that he's had that 1 year, but he still needs to do it on another level and do it again. Similar to a Hudson Young. Like, you've already seen, I guess he's come onto the scene, but he hasn't broken into that, top 4, top 3 kind of category just yet until he does it on a consistent level. So that's why I've got Robson as my breakout for this year to go on, do it again. And, you got to be happy with him at the Cowboys. Now we do go into the Parramatta Squeals, the Parramatta Eels here. And I'll jump in first here because it's going to be, like, the back line's pretty much set for me. And I think, obviously, the spine is definitely set. Hodgson, Brown, Moses, Gutho. Even the forwards are pretty much set, except for that lock position. Because, obviously, Nathan Brown is kind of getting phased out, in my personal opinion. they're looking for options elsewhere. I think Jermaine Hopgood, is going to come in there and really tear it up in that lock position. He's a big bopper. He has a step on him too. I have watched highlights of a step that he's got. Everyone's talking about him, and I think this is a real good pickup here from the Parramatta Eels. He came from the Panthers, I believe. Look, it's his time to really break out here because that lock position is absolutely up for grabs. Obviously, Ryan Maddow is there as well. But I just think that Hopgood's going to be able to make a name for himself alongside that. Madison might even be on the bench with Hopgood starting just because, Madison can play back row. He can play lock as well. Either way, maybe even Maddow plays over Murchie in that back row as well with Sean Lane. Or he goes lock. It is what it is. But I think Hopgood's going to have a great year, man.
I agree with you, man. It's all set up. He's one of those players this year that will dominate. I think he's going to have a fantastic 2023 campaign. Yeah, he was the captain of the Penrith Panthers New South Wales Cup side that won the grand final and also won that interstate championship as well. He has been around for a few more years before that as well. So no, I've got massive raps on Jermaine Hopgood as well. For versatility purposes now, there is another player in the forward pack that I'd like to highlight. I think and this is one is going to come off the bench as well, but such is the stature I think this bloke could have. He's an off-season recruit from the Newcastle Knights, and his name is Gerard Momosia. If you have seen him, he is 7 foot tall, bro, and can run through
7 foot. Holy damn!
Look, maybe I'm over exaggerating there, but he's absolutely tall timber, this Gerard Momosia, and I can see him being a regular interchange player and someone that they can rely upon, much like in the same sense of a Makahisi Makatoa that just can come on and do a really solid job, man. So I'm looking at Gerard Momosia, and I think that he can warm the hearts of some Parramatta Eels fans out there that may be questioning the interchange depth.
Yeah, no, I like it. I haven't seen much of him, so I'm looking forward to seeing what can happen there. And we'll be keeping that name. I've heard the name Momosia. I definitely have. But not too sure myself. So, yeah, definitely keen to see what happens there at the Eels because a lot of people say they're going down this year. I don't necessarily think they'll drop too much, but I do think they'll drop down a little bit just based on, I think, maybe people might be able to read them a bit better. But good luck to the Squeals in 2023. We move on now to the champions, the ones who beat them in the grand final. It is the Penrith Panthers here. You're going first here. Get underway.
All right, then. Well,
don't steal mine. Don't do it. Don't steal mine.
How do you, what's the saying? Don't fix what doesn't need to be broken. How do you improve the Penrith Panthers? Who has not already broken out in that freaking side, right? Mm-hmm. So I really hope I don't pinch yours, mate. I'm looking at a young man that's coming through the ranks. Oh man, I hope I don't say it.
I know you're doing it. I know what you're doing. Go on.
He's very well on my short list, but I'm going to go with a young forward named Eddie.
Yes, it's not
Blacker.
Mine. Okay, yep.
I'm going with close. I'm going with a player called Eddie Blacker. He was a standout in that aforementioned interstate championship matchup on grand final day last year. Eddie Blacker has been in my sights for about 18 months now. I can't help but be impressed by the bloke. I think there is an opportunity for him to take yet again another interchange bench role, but I think that he can take it, man. I think we're going to see a lot of people talk about Eddie Blacker by the end of the year, man.
Yeah, well, good luck. He's got a tough team to break into, man. You look at the forward pack, Mose Leota, Fisher Harris, Liam Martin. You got Garner coming in from the Tigers, which may be an opening there if he doesn't translate. You got Isaiah Yeo, Scott Sorensen, Spencer Lenny. Like, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous there. Good luck to him. I don't know much about him, but I'm excited to see what maybe he can do. But a very tough team to break into there. But the one that I'm going to look at here is one that has not had a breakout yet. He had a breakout game internationally, but he hasn't had a breakout game domestically. Yeah. It's going to be Sonia Taruva, baby. Sonia Taruva. He is an unbelievable little player, man. We've seen him do it for Fiji against Papua New Guinea. Had a great World Cup campaign. My goodness me. It was great for Fiji. And now a spot's opened up for him because, they did have Charlie Staines they'll put in there. I think that Sonia Taruva probably would have taken over that spot anyway. But Staines has gone to the Tigers. So Sundarowa on the wing, fantastic there. I think he's mainly a fullback, obviously, but Dylan Edwards is that guy, so he wasn't able to break in there. But he's going to get a crack, and he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. I believe it. I know it. Like, he's just such an unreal player. He's got that turn of pace. He's got some real good speed. I don't know if wing is his position, but at least he gets into the starting team. And if anything happens to Dylan Edwards, he'll be moved straight back there, and somebody else will come into the wing there. Really looking forward to Sundarowa. I don't think anybody out there who's seen him play would say otherwise. He just is just such an electric player that I think has deserved his opportunity here, and get it underway, baby. Just get the show on the road. But speaking of getting the show on the road, it is the Dolphins. The Dolphins, the Wish version of the Gold Coast. They've come in here, and dear me, what are we going to say about them? Because there's a lot of players here that's there's a lot of players here. It's a really big throw together team, really. But what are your thoughts about the Dolphins? Which player are you going to go with here? I think you went first. I went first last time. No, you went first.
I went first to stand, yes.
Yeah, you went first. So I'll go first here. Because
Okay.
I don't want you stealing. I don't want you to steal my player here. Because he's just so good. He's so good. I think you know it's going to happen. It has to happen. It's in the halves. Is it the same player?
No.
Okay, well, I'm doing it anyway. Isaiah Katoa, baby. Isaiah Katoa, man. Obviously, should have had a crack there for Tonga. Had more of a go for Tonga. I really like Isaiah Katoa. Milford and O'Sullivan, they're the two names that you're talking about there for that 6th and the 7th spot. But Isaiah Katoa, man, he was at the Panthers. He was a good player, but he wasn't going to be able to have a crack over Jerome Luai or Nathan Cleary. Comes into the halves here. I don't know how long Milford will last, and I also don't know how long Bennett will trust O'Sullivan. So he's got a spot here in the 6 or the 7. Honestly, take your pick. He can play 6, he can play 7, probably more of a 7 overall. But yeah, look, he'll come into that team and he'll dominate, man. He'll dominate. Really, really good play coming through. And I'm glad that he's at the Dolphins because he would never have gotten a crack at the Panthers in the halves.
No, not at all, man. And look, a bit of credit to another content creator. His name is Rugby League Guru. He has been on Isaiah Katoa for about 2 years now, off the top of my head. And there has been cases, there have been conversations that maybe you don't start Katoa because he is so young, and maybe you do need to protect him for a little while. But
it is the Dolphins, a brand new team. It's tough.
What you've just touched on there, though, he made his international debut at such a young age and absolutely destroyed the opposition, man. Yeah, Toa could have hardly been any more impressive than what he was in that Rugby League World Cup, man. So he'll get his first grade debut this year, but I think we might have to wait maybe 6 or so weeks until we do see him. Or maybe I'm just talking through me backside. Now, I'm going to move on to my breakout stuff for 2023, and this might be a little bit eye-crossing. But look, man, the bloke was hampered by a bloke that was just in so much better form than him. The bloke was restricted to coming off the bench after being very impressive. And look, man, you talk about breakout, the barn door is wide open for Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow to go to another level this year, make the fullback position his own. You don't have to go sign Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, which is being touted in the rumour circles at the moment, even though he'd go pretty bloody all right. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, for me, man, it's got a well and truly breakout, and I think he has the potential to be that face of the Dolphins this year, man. And I'm bloody sad that the Cowboys had to, or the Hammer wanted to leave Redcliffe. But yeah, man, I wish him nothing but the best, and I think his best can be absolutely exceptional, bro.
Yeah, no, I agree. At his best, he could be absolutely exceptional. I think last year was starting to turn into a bit of a nightmare year for him because people were starting to lose that hype on him that he's had in the past. I think that he wasn't able to get into that Cowboys team because obviously, he was injured, then came back, and Scott Drinkwater was killing the fullback spot, which is pretty much his. And, Kyle Felton and who's the other winger up there at the Cowboys? Kyle Felton and Murray Talangi playing so well, you couldn't put him in there. And then the centers were also locked up with Peter Hiku and Valentine Holmes. So there was just no spot for him left. He went out as a starting fullback, or at least a starting player, and came back to a situation that he couldn't do anything. It's still got that Queensland spot. Look, I think at his best, absolutely could be that breakout play this year. I just need to see in the fullback, because I don't actually necessarily think that he was aiming, in my opinion, to be that great fullback as much as I believed he was going to be. But I definitely think he's got the ability, and especially here, he's going to have to be. He's one of the more. He's probably, I'd say, in that back line, the most quality potential. Yeah, definitely over Jermaine Sarko and Edric Lee. Testing you, Avance Tevare, Milf. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that fullback, he could have a breakout season. Absolutely. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But Dolphins, very difficult to read because they are a brand new team coming into a brand new, everything. Brand new everything. That's as much as we'll say there. We've got 4 more to go here, and we will go to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and I'll let you go first here about the Rabbitohs.
Oh, yeah, bloody bugger. South Sydney are hard. They're really hard for me as well. And there's probably one other team that I'll say that about before we're out, but South Sydney are hard because I think they're very, very settled, bro. Except there are 2 young men that are impressive, but I don't think they've quite had that spotlight highlight moment yet. And I think there is a massive opportunity that comes their way. So I hope you agree with me on the other one, but I'm going to choose one. And I'm going to go with the young man, Isaac Thompson, in the centres. I think that position is his. And I think Isaac Thompson can be their breakout centre for 2023.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mind. He could also go into the wing there because Isaiah Tuss and Campbell Graham could be the centres. But with that being said, yeah, he could be in the centres. He could be in the wing. The back line for Rabbitohs is still pretty set besides those 2, really. It just comes down to how Jason Demetrio does see that. But, for me, when I'm looking at this team, as you said, there's a lot of guys who haven't necessarily had the spotlight on them in regards to that big moment and being that big guy. And I think that someone who has learnt dramatically from last season and really is going to improve this year on a consistent level is going to be Lachlan Ilias. I think it is going to be Lachlan Ilias. He's had that Greece call up now, and it's greasy. They didn't get slapped, but for the most part, he was definitely the best player in that Greek lineup. Wasn't the greatest for the first half of the season last year for the Rabbitohs, but started to get really a chug on later on in the year. And I think that now he's got a full season under his belt. He's got that international cap under his belt. I think this is the breakout year for him. He's going to work well with Cody Walker. Trell Mitt's going to have a big year. Damien Cook has to have a bigger one. I think that Ilias is going to lead them around really nicely from the halfback spot. And I think that defensively, he's a really, really good halfback. So if anyone's going to break out for me on that big time level, I'm going Lachlan Ilias to really turn it on and become that guy. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I absolutely do agree with you, man. And I think, I don't know, he copped it fairly harshly from a few critics in
early on in the season.
Man. He certainly did, man. They just, nobody gave him enough time. And I'm so happy for him because you're right, man. He became very, very likable and very, very lethal towards the back end of last season. And you're right, he was Greece's best World Cup player without a shadow of a doubt, bro. But again, just for me to reiterate on the player that I've chosen, I think those 2 IT boys in Isaiah Tass and Isaac Thompson, they've got it all ahead of them. The world's their oyster in 2023, and it's very much in the same wavelength as Lachlan Ilias.
Yeah, no, some really good players there. Really, and it's good to see the Rabbitohs have got a nice mix of experience, but also youth. It's mainly youth in the back line, a lot of experience in the front row. So, yeah, no, it's it's going to be the Rabbitohs might have a big year. They might be having a big year this year. But let's go on to the final 3 now, and we've got the St. George Illawarra Dragons. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to straight up say Bud Sullivan. He's going to get his first real solid crack here for the Dragons, who are an absolutely mind-bendingly muppetry of a team in regards to the organisation. I think that they, again, as you guys all know, I think they need to go into rebuild. I don't think that they're telling you the truth about going to rebuild. I don't think signing Ben Hunt on another contract is actually going into a rebuild. I think they're still trying to hold on to some form of relevancy, but you need to go into a full-blown, blow the team up and get going. And it hasn't happened for a long time now. They're just trying to tinker individual positions and try and see if something can work, but it's not going to work in my opinion. So just blow it up, man. But Jaden Sullivan, young guy coming through that everyone keeps talking about, could play that 6 role, also could play the fullback role. Even though there's Tyrell Sloan, there is also... who's another one that obviously Sullivan can go in there, but there's another one. Ramsey is a shout there. But Sullivan is a jack of all trades. And also the 9 too. Jacob Little is going to be the 9, but maybe potentially Jaden Sullivan as well. They might interchange. He can play pretty much every spinal position. I would even back him in to play 7 if Ben Hunt went down. 1, 6, 7, 9. Jack of all trades. I'm just excited to see what he can potentially produce because the Dragons fans have been circle jerking him for years now, and finally we get to see the end product.
You bloody bugger, you chose my one, but yes, I completely agree with you. No, I completely agree with you, man. It is going to be his year to take with both hands, bro. But oh man, take your pick. Take your pick, man. This St. George Illawarra Dragons lineup is not set in stone. There is so
God help you.
There are so many positions that are up for grabs, man. So, but there is one player that really does look impressive for me, and he's a winger. And he's going to cement his spot, but people are going to well and truly realise how special of a talent this bloke is. Matt Feangai for the St. George Illawarra Dragons, who scored one of the tries of last year, is going to absolutely go
that was an incredible try, man. That power that he had in his legs. Oh, my God. And it was against the Broncos too. How can you get any better than that? Oh, my God.
No, you can. Dude, Matt Feangai for me, bro, I think he is an unbelievable talent that we have not seen the best of yet. And I think he's going to show everybody why he could, because I think he could be eligible. Correct me if I'm wrong. I shouldn't probably speak without studying that up properly, but I think he could be eligible for New South Wales as well. But if he's not, I just want to say that I think Matt Feangai, I think he could be one of the Dragons' favourite sons by the end of the year, man, for this current reiteration, of course.
Mate, honestly, that try was incredible, and the power that he's got. Look, we haven't seen, I guess, a fantastic amount of him, but man, if that's what you can see from him going forward, at least the Dragons have got some kind of positivity about him, because just for me, you look through that list and it's just so bland. It really is. Maybe somewhat competitive, but it's just so bland. So hopefully a bit of a shining light there with him in the team. But I think now we move on to the last two here. And so that I don't steal your one, we'll give you the first one here, but I guarantee you I'm not stealing it because I know I'm on a different wavelength to you here. But go with the Roosters.
Oh, my. Someone to steal, because the Sydney Roosters coming into 2023, they've already all broken out. They're already well bloody established, aren't they?
I'm actually scared. Should I go first? See, I'm scared. I don't want you to take my guy, because you might actually take my guy now that you're saying that.
Go ahead.
No. You go. I can change it on the spot. You go. Who you going?
Brandon Smith is going to have to need a lot of help because he is not an 80-minute player yet. So who's going to come on to help him out? Now, the Roosters have signed Jake injury. And Connor Watson is gone with injury. Jake Turpin has been signed from the Brisbane Broncos recently. And look, Jake Turpin, I like his defence. He definitely has, he just needs to find that other cog to him in attack. And under Trent Robinson, it very well could be unlocked. And again, I do believe Brandon Smith is not going to be an 80-minute player. And I think that they're going to have to work with the second hooker from the interchange bench. Jake Turpin will be that jersey 14 for me, and he'll come on. And I think that he can do a really honourable job this year under someone like Trent Robinson, and with help from James Tedesco and Luke Keary and the like. So I'm going to go Jake Turpin to be a Roosters breakout player.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like, I think that he was definitely very, very bang on average to the Broncos, but there was a lot of stuff, a lot of people talking like he was going to be the next best thing. It just didn't really work out. So maybe a fresh scenery, like a Scotty Drinkwater, it wasn't working at the Broncos. Went to the Cowboys and have a look at, not Scotty Drinkwater, Tom Dearden, going from the Broncos, who looked like he was, in tatters. I was talking to my boy Toby about it, and it looked like he was in tatters, but then he absolutely exploded onto the scene in 2022. So maybe that could be the same thing with Turpin. I don't believe Brandon Smith is actually that great of a 9. I think he's a good 13, but he can't go to 13. Victor Radley. I think that Brandon Smith is definitely the 9 there, but you're a good shout there, because I think Connor Watson and him would have been interchanged quite well, but unfortunately, that's not the case with that injury. But for me, I am going to go to a very similar prospect here in regards to Ilias. I think that he's played a bit. He's obviously played a lot more than what Ilias has played. At least he's only played the 1 year here. But I think that breakout season is desperately needing to happen. I think it desperately needs to happen. And although he's been good, and although he's been there, and people have been waiting for it, really, I would say Sam Walker. I would say he needs to have a breakout season because I don't think he's had a breakout season just yet. I think that he's in line to be that number 7 for Queensland behind Cherry Evans, who is obviously probably in his last year or potentially last 2 of being 7 there. Sam Walker is in line for that position. And I'm not confident in him just yet. I'm not confident that he can take over that origin spot yet. I don't think that overall he has had that really, really pinpoint year that tells me that he is the 7 for the future of Queensland and the 7 going into the future of the Roosters, even though he will be. So I think that he needs to have a breakout year, very much like an Ilias who has showed quality there, and this is going to be the year for him to break out. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he has proven himself enough, but you're right. He had a weird year last year, man, because his 2021 season, we saw those double cutout passes and we saw the cheekiness in him. And last year, man, he played a little bit more reservedly. But look, he still took his side to the final, the week 1 final, sorry. Yeah, I'm with you on Sam Walker. I don't think he's truly broken out yet, so I think that's a fair shout. And look, I mean, just a random question off the top of my head, are we looking at Tom Dearden and Sam Walker as the future Queensland halves pairings, BKR?
Well, Munster's still got a few years left in him. You know, Munster's still got quite a decent little bit there. I think that I'm not confident to say based off one season we did, and I need to see it a couple of times. You know, I've seen plenty of players come through, have great seasons, then fall apart. And that's not a shot to the Cowboys. That's just me saying. Like, I've seen plenty of guys come in and plenty of guys go out. And I'm only 28 years old. So if I'm saying that, then God help the guys who are in their 50s and 60s. But yeah, look, I think that it's potential, but I'm not that confident in that halves pairing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that halves pairing kind of freaks me out a little bit as a Queenslander, because you're going from, you know, having halves like Cooper Cronk, Jonathan Thurston, Darren Lockyer, and Munster, Cherry Evans in his prime, to Sam Walker and Dearden. You know, it kind of scares me a little bit there.
Yeah, wow. No, okay, yeah. Yeah, anyways, we probably shouldn't turn this into a state of origin conversation, though. But what do you think about that? Yeah. Well, I'm backing my boy Tom Dearden in, because I thought his debut last year was outstanding, and I thought he was the second best 5'8" in the comp last year, just behind Cameron Munster. But maybe that might be a biased opinion. But for Sam Walker to break out, we've seen his potential, but I don't think he's well and truly broken out yet and found that high-level consistency just yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think this is going to be a big year for him with the Roosters, who, you know, hopefully are a better team than they were last year. I think they are a better team than they were last year, but, you know, there is still confidence issues, I guess, from the last couple of years, but the 2021 season is forgivable because of injuries. But anyway, let's get into the final one here. Let's get into the final one. It is going to be the West Tigers, and I'm going to let you go here first, because I've got an interesting one actually, you know what? No, you go first here. You go first here. Yeah, you go first. Go.
Okay. I'm looking at their forward pack again.
I'm looking.
Mate, I don't want to put my foot in it. I really don't. But it's much the same conversation as Sam Walker. That while we've seen potential, he hasn't broken out yet. Stefano
Utoikamanu.
I think it's Utoikamanu. I think it's time for him to break out, bro. Under Tim Sheens and Benji Marshall, David Clemmer's there now to help him get some more mongrel out of him this year. I think it's time for Big Stefano to step up and really, really dominate, bro, and be that massive enforcer for him. Because Clemmer, while he's still got a couple of years left in him, he can't be that enforcer all the time. And so Stefano's got to be that brand new enforcer, bro, and hopefully he can barrage his way into calculations for New South Wales, because he was in calculations for the Blues a couple of seasons ago. But last year was just same with the entire club. This did not work out. So for me, the breakout player has to, and I think it will be. I'm confident in saying that Big Stefano can do it in 2023.
Yeah, well, I'm talking the random stats guy, front row forwards, and Kamano had not a good season last year. He did not have a good season. Very disappointing there. And actually, it's funny that you bring him up, because the guy that I'm going to mention, and this is why I'm going to mention it now because we can discuss both of them together, is the fact that I actually think that if Kamano does not get the job done, I think Fonua Pole could actually, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. But Fonua Pole could come into that front row spot and actually kind of make it his own as well there. There is also the shout that Alex Tawal just takes it over instead and goes to that front row, because Joe Offengawi's playing so well in that lock position. So it could just be Clemmer and Alex Twal. But, the Tigers front rowers, David Clemmer, very, very, very good. It's crazy how he's actually underrated right now based on stats. When you watch the front rowers, Rando is all over him, man. He wanted to chuck him into elite. It was, he really got behind him. And, based on stats, I can understand. So, look, it's that 8th spot is up for grabs, because Utukamanu, although he has that name from a couple of years back, he hasn't been able to be consistent with it and level up on that. So I think Fonua Pole could be a breakout this year in conjunction with that. And I think his spot is completely up for grabs if he doesn't get it going.
Yeah, and look, I think the other way to potentially pronounce his last name is Pole.
I was thinking it was either Pole or Pole, yeah.
Yeah. So apologies to him, but in any event, though, I'm with you. I think he showed so much promise and so much bloody mongrel in 2022. Pole or Pole. I think that's an absolutely fair shout. And Clemmer, I think he's signed for 2 years now. So with Pole, Uto Kamanu, and another fella that maybe we should touch on just very quickly in Sean Bloor. Who hopefully doesn't have an injury-riddled season again. I think there's a great platform to work on for the future if you're going to use Pole Utuikamanu and the bloke I just mentioned, Sean Bloor there, man. So, but I think Pole is an absolutely fantastic mentioning, bro.
Yeah. I think their forwards are the ones you look at here for the Tigers this year. But you look at that back line. Oh boy, their back line is it's not that great overall. But their forward line is they've got some real quality there now. And John Bateman, Offengawi, Papali'i, David Clemmer, Apikoto, and then either Utukamanu, who could, if he plays like he did a couple of years ago, could be great, or Bloor / even Alex Twal, front row. My goodness me. He's just a solid man there. So, look, plenty to get excited about the forwards for the Tigers. But boy, that back line is something else. But, man, Sammy, we did it, mate. We went through all the teams there about an hour and a half or so, and we smacked it, I reckon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm glad. I think there's one player that I'd like to mention as well, backtrack if I may, please. It's in the Penrith Panthers squad. With Mitch Kenny being the main hooker, I'm looking at Sonny Luke.
Yeah, Sonny Luke, bro.
Yeah, in jersey 14, man, he hasn't played too many first-grade games either. And the way he played for Tonga in the World Cup, outstanding stuff, bro. So I think if there's one player that I'd like to mention as well, I think Sonny Luke for the Penrith Panthers could absolutely break out and could even make a case for Ivan Cleary to think maybe Sonny Luke should start and have Mitch Kenny come off the bench.
Well, that's what Mitch Kenny was doing last year with Apikoto as the 9. Then all that kind of changed quite a bit depending on the matchup.
Yeah.
But it's a shout. Sonny Luke is maybe the go forward there. So we'll see how long Mitch Kenny does last as that starter, because I don't believe he's a starter. I actually don't really rate Mitch Kenny a great deal. So yeah, that's a good shout there for Sonny Luke at the Penny Panthers. But that's going to do us here for today, guys. Sammy, let everyone know where they can find you if they want to go and check out your content.
Oh, thank you very much for having me again, BKR. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. For people who want to come and sniff me out, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. On YouTube and Instagram, type in WobblinJawSports. And for Twitter, type in my name, and my ugly mug will come up first thing, I promise you. So, but yeah, thank you very much to anybody who may give me a crack in the future, and thanks to BKR finally for giving me a crack here today, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
So yeah, obviously his Sammy's Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube will be thrown into the description. The links are below, so go and check him out. Obviously, there if you want more rugby league content, you can never get too much of rugby league content. If you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, smack that thumbs up button. I do appreciate you as usual. It's a fantastic amount of rugby league content that's coming your way. Plus, also we've got plenty of other sports too. But streams coming back soon. We've got the preseason coming up soon with streams. Just so much going on. I'm back in Australia now, so we'll be doing stuff around the Gold Coast Titans, at trainings and Seabus, and it's getting hectic. So hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. Absolutely slap that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.